working closely with the Ministry of Aviation, adding that a new presidential approval had just been given that would advance the process.
This year, it will become operational. We are working round the clock to make it happen. We are working with Ministry of Aviation. We've just gotten some presidential approval. Once you get the concessionaire, the issue of operation will now, what you want is that get the operators who are going to fly this thing, then we'll move to the next thing. But I can assure you that before the end of this administration, Air Nigeria will start flying.
Air Peace has remained silent on its next line of action 2 days after an official of the Kano Emirate gave it a 3-day ultimatum to appease the Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, over a flight incident. Isa Bayero, a cousin of Aminu Ado Bayero, the Emir of Kano, had on Saturday, February 26, 2022, demanded an apology from Air Peace within 3 days for allegedly disrespecting the Emir. Isa Bayero had written a petition to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the NCAA, to sanction the carrier, alleging it delayed the Emir's Banjul to Lagos flight by over 1 hour and then refused to allow the entourage of royal father to board its connecting flight to Kano. Bayero's argument was that the Emir and his entourage were in Lagos 30 minutes before the 6:15 a.m. Lagos to Kano flight and saw no reason why they could not board the flight alongside passengers already on the plane. President Muhammadu Buhari says the Electoral Act Bill 2022 passed by the National Assembly holds a lot of promises for improving the election processes with a lasting legacy to the country. Buhari commended the National Assembly for its commitment and dedication to improving on the previous Electoral Bill 2021.
Perspective that the substance of the bill is both informative and progressive. I am making this bold declaration because I foresee the great potentials of the bill. Worthy of note include the democratic efficacy of the bill with particular reference to Sections 3, Section 9, subsection 2, Section 34, Section 41, Section 47, Section 84, subsection 9, 10, and 11, among others.
This was the signing of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2022 into law at the Council Chamber of the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on Friday.
This, however, cannot be said about one provision as contained in the proposed bill, which provision constitutes fundamental defect as it is in conflict with extant constitutional provisions. Section 84, subsection 12 constitutes a disenfranchisement of serving political office holders from voting or being voted for at conventions or congresses of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election in cases where it holds earlier than 30 days to the national election. The section provides as follows. No political appointee at any level shall be voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. It is gratifying to note that the current bill comes with a great deal of improvement from the previous Electoral Bill 2021. There are salient and praiseworthy provisions that could positively revolutionize elections in Nigeria through the introduction of new technological innovations. These innovations would guarantee the constitutional rights of citizens to vote and to do so effectively. The bill will also improve and engender clarity, effectiveness, transparency of the election processes, as well as reduce the barriers to the barest minimum incidence of acrimony arising from dissatisfied candidates and political parties.
Aliyu Danasi, Secretary of the South-South Traditional Rulers Forum, advises Nigerians to be innovative in whatever leadership position they hold to uplift the country to enviable heights in all spheres. Details of this and more comes to you after the break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Live on Viewer Television. A recap of our top stories. Nigerian embassies in Romania, Hungary receive over 200 Nigerians from Ukraine. Protesting students lock federal and state secretariats in Plateau State. Plus, Russia destroys world's largest plane Mriya in Ukraine. Aliyu Danisi, Secretary of the South-South Traditional Rulers Forum, advises Nigerians to be innovative in whatever leadership position they hold to uplift the country to enviable heights in all spheres. Danesi, who is also Oba Danesi II, Aidonogie of South Ibi Kingdom, gave the advice at the launch of a book titled Destructive Leadership, A Necessity of the Now.
Leader, you should not be a slave to procedure. You should not be a slave to, oh, this is how it's being done. The fact remains that life changes every day. Few years back, we were analog. Now we are digital. Few years ago, we have landlines. But now, there's a telephone in everybody's hand, wherever you are. Things are changing, and we need leaders who can change things as life progresses. We cannot be static, or else the train will leave us behind. So the fact remains that, like I have told them when I gave a short speech inside, is that not only do we need disruptive leaders, we also need disruptive electorate, because it's the electorate that elects the leaders. If the electorate is disruptive, they will be able to identify those leaders who have the competence to be disruptive in their leadership role.
The author of the book, Adams Ahmed, said the book is centered on promoting awareness and the importance of knowledge sharing about leadership to achieve meaningful growth in all spheres of life.
Where if people have the education, education can take you to your dream. Education can take you to any height in the whatever sectorial area you look at. Awareness can take you to any height to be able to achieve those things that are positive and those things that are constructive. So we should spread the education. Leadership problem is cut across the continent, is trans-border, it's intercontinental. Wherever you go, you have a problem of leadership, either deficit or overdose. It depends on the perspective one will look at it. But however, because some of them you have seen that have undergone this course, the MPhil, Master of Philosophy in Leadership and Strategic Studies, they've undergone programs, they've undergone courses, they have gone training that will assist them in doing better what they've been doing, because that's actually the target of the program.
Dr. Ben Aldo, director of the Center for Leadership of NDA, congratulated the 82 persons who graduated from the academy.
What they did is MPhil in Leadership and Strategic Studies, which is a qualifying degree for PhD in Leadership and Strategic Studies. MPhil is for those that are switching from different fields to come into leadership studies. Because they don't have that background in leadership studies, they have to undergo an MPhil program for them to be qualified. Some of them have professional master's degrees. And for a professional master's degree, you're not qualified to do a PhD. So they need that MPhil to qualify them for a PhD. You know, PhD is purely academic, but some of them have professional masters in their various fields.
The book reviewer, Professor Sahid Zakari, explained that the book is made up of 72 chapters and a total of 1,282 pages in 2 volumes.
The Leadership and Strategy Study Program, under the Directorate of Linkages and Collaboration of the Nigerian Defense Academy, have upgraded this quality in all the participants, which reflected in the compilation of this book titled Perspective of Leadership and Security in Nigeria.
The Center for Satellite Technology Development, CSTD, underscores the need for public-private partnership to ease space technology development burden on the government. Dr. Sadiq Umar, acting director of the center, which is an activity of the National Space and Development Agency, said this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja. Umaru said that renowned spacefaring nations and institutions have succeeded with space technology development by exploiting public-private partnerships.
Invested their stocks through the private sector. It can be through privatization, it can be commercialization, it can be build, operate, and hand over through so many ways that we can work together with the private sector. They have the funding, we have the technology, we can partner so that the burden on federal government will be less. Look at the Virgin Atlantic owned by Richard Branson. It's wholly owned by private individuals. If you have the money now, you can go to space. And others in US, about 3 of them are running privately owned, satellite launch.
The National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, Center for Satellite Technology Development, CSTD, said that it has developed a 4-year strategic implementation plan. The plan, it said, will enable it to achieve its mandate of satellite designs and development. Acting director of the center, Dr. Sadiq Umar, who recently assumed the leadership of CSTD in December 2021, said this in an interview. Umar said that his leadership will reactivate existing partnerships and engage in strategic technical staff training, among other innovations, to ensure the center develops satellite technology in the country.
World Industries Corporation, China Academy of Space Science Technology, Q-Tech in Japan, and the rest. We need to reactivate and rejig our relationship with those spacefaring nations. I came up with an idea to have a unit under innovation, new trends, new ways of doing things. It's a global community. Space is about communication. You have to belong to the space industry, digital way of doing things. So we have a lot of projects, innovative ideas, innovative projects like the robotics, computer vision, machine learning, over the top, Internet of Things. These are all new ways of doing things. Over the years, we have been training, but we need to improve in training and retraining, especially our technical staff. It is the technology that can bring the reduction in prices. Is the technology that can bring down prices, technology that can be used in agriculture. You need technology, in medicine. We have to move. So innovation is key.
A federal high court, Abuja, on Monday refused to grant the bail application of suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abakari. Justice Inyangekwo, in a ruling, said the application had been overtaken by events following an order of a sister court granting the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency's prayers to detain Kyari for another 14 days to enable it to conclude its investigation. Justice Ekwo held that the sister court, which gave the order in favor of the NDLEA on February the 22nd, was a court of coordinate jurisdiction. The judge, however, said he was inclined to hear Kyari's fundamental enforcement rights suit with the urgency it deserves after the expiration of the 14-day court order. The Pediatrics Association of Nigeria has decried the rise in cases of child abuse in the country and called on more states to domesticate the Child Rights Act. The body, however, said in states where the act was already domesticated, appropriate machinery should be put in place for it to be fully implemented. This was contained in a 9-point communique issued at the end of the 53rd Scientific Conference and Annual General Meeting of the Pediatric Association of Nigeria in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. The body observed that child abuse, also known as child maltreatment, was a global phenomenon, stating in Nigeria 6 out of 10 children experience physical, emotional, or sexual abuse before the age of 18 years. The Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission says the agency is working on providing appropriate accommodation for police officers and other Nigerians using the PPP model. Michael Ohiani, the Acting Director General Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, disclosed this when featured on Forum Interview program with newsmen in Abuja.
Where police, like it is done in other climes, you have to get good accommodation for your policemen so that a well-rested police will be able to police the nation. On that note, we are working with the police to get them accommodation. We have the Ikeja Senior Police Quarters housing that is 11 blocks by 6 units of 3-bedroom housing unit. We did the inspection of the site. About 2 blocks has come up currently last week. We also have the Metama DIG quarters that is ongoing. We are at the negotiation stage. We also have police housing, which is mixed use in Falomo. Then we have the one misuse PPP housing in Guzape that will accommodate both the police and the civilian.
Hip City Innovation Center, Hip City Hub, and Advocacy Center calls for better service delivery to the original inhabitants of Abuja. The center made the call as part of its advocacy during a courtesy visit to the managing director of the news agency of Nigeria in Abuja, Basi. Executive Director of Hip City Hub said the center's focus was to promote the rights of the indigenous people of Abuja through collaboration.
Our strategy is to conscientize them, build their capacity to be able to first understand what their rights are, and then collaboratively work with them in the demand for accountability around service delivery. Our focus is on basic service delivery, issues around basic education, issues of basic health, issues around water, sanitation, hygiene, and the sustainable use of environment. As an organization, we're working to promote the rights of the indigenous people of Abuja across cultural, economic, and political participation of this group of persons. Having worked in Abuja in the last 3 years, beyond the city center, you find that people are struggling with animals to drink water, and these waters are not even clean for human consumption, but we find people drinking from those water. We find our women and girls struggle, to maintain menstrual hygiene because of lack of water. Many of the primary healthcare centers are also constructed without water facilities. And all of this contravenes the National Primary Healthcare Act, which stipulates what a primary healthcare should look like and what facilities should be in it.
Silas Moha, the editor-in-chief of NAN, who represented the managing director, thanked the organization for the visit.
Give you whatever support that we can. I want to see you also giving voice to people in communities around the country, communities that are unheard of in Nigeria. Because when you do that, it gives everybody a sense of belonging. Yes, we know that Abuja, being the Federal Capital Territory, will obviously get some advantages over others, but in your planning, also have in mind that virtually every community in Nigeria needs this kind of initiative. We need to find a way to affect the lives of our people.
And now to international news. Ukraine demanded an immediate Russian ceasefire and troop withdrawal on Monday as a Kyiv delegation arrived for talks with Russian negotiators on the 5th day of the Kremlin's offensive against the country. He also demanded an immediate European Union membership for Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine on Thursday, sending shockwaves around the world. Ukraine forces, backed by Western arms, have managed to slow the advance of the Russian army. The Ukrainian military also accused Russia of launching a missile strike on residential buildings in the cities of Zhytomyr and Chernihiv, cities in the country's northwest and north. Zelensky urged Russian soldiers to lay down their weapons and desert as Ukrainian and Russian delegations were set to hold talks on Moscow's invasion. China's Ministry of Science and Technology has issued a list of the top 10 domestic scientific advances of 2021 on Monday. The selected achievements include the Tianwen-1 Mars probe's successful landing on Mars, the successful launch of China's space station core module Tianhe, Shenzhou 12, and Shenzhou 13, manned spaceships' successful launch and docking with the core module. According to the list issued by the High-Tech Research and Development Center of the Ministry, these were the 10 domestic scientific advances. Other advances include the starch synthetic from carbon dioxide, lunar evolution revealed by lunar samples brought back by the Change E5 mission, mechanism of SARS-CoV-2 evading antiviral drugs, and the world's largest fast radio burst sample detected by the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, and so on. Vladimir Putin has ordered Russia's military to put its deterrence forces, which include nuclear weapons, on special alert. He told defense chiefs it was because of aggressive statements by the West amid widespread condemnation of his invasion of Ukraine. The announcement does not mean Russia intends to use the weapons. The U.S. immediately condemned his decision, calling it an unacceptable escalation. Last week, Putin had warned that whoever tries to hinder us in Ukraine will see consequences you have never seen in your history. Those words were widely interpreted as signaling a threat to use nuclear weapons if the West stood in his way.
Силой сдерживания российской армии в особый режим несения боевого дежурства. Вы видите, что западные страны предпринимают не только недружественные действия в отношении нашей страны в экономической сфере, я имею в виду нелегитимные санкции, о которых все хорошо знают. Высшие должностные лица ведущих стран НАТО допускают и агрессивные высказывания в адрес.
Shortly after news broke of the Russian attack against Ukraine, demonstrators gathered outside Russian embassies and other landmark spots in many parts of the world. People are seen waving yellow-blue Ukrainian flags with pro-Ukraine slogans and chants at the rallies. Many of the demonstrators, including Ukrainian expats, hold up banners saying Ukraine will resist and say no to Putin. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky compared Russia's invasion of the country to military campaigns carried out by Nazi Germany during World War II. The largest plane in the world, Ukraine's Antonov 225 cargo plane, was destroyed by Russian strikes outside Kiev on the fourth day of Moscow's invasion. Ukraine's state-owned Ukroboronprom group. The aircraft was unique to the world at 84 meters long, that's 276 feet. It could transport up to 250 tons, that's 551,000 pounds of cargo at a speed of up to 850 kilometers per hour. Gostomel Airport has seen violent clashes since the start of Russia's invasion, launched by President Vladimir Putin on Thursday. Weapons manufacturers Ukroboronprom estimated that restoring the Mir would cost over $3 billion and could take over 5 years. You're still watching News Live on Viewer Television. We now bring to you sports news.
Welcome to Sport News. I am Adamu Joseph. Dembele's explosive finish in the second half of his first goal since the January transfer window, when Barca told the Frenchman he should leave if he refused to sign a new contract. Xavi Hernandez has insisted on reintegrating Dembele in the last few weeks, with Barca needing the 24-year-old in their fight to finish in La Liga's top 4. This victory puts Barcelona back into 4th place, above Atletico Madrid, and now only 1 point behind Real Betis, who have been dragged into the scrap after they lost 2-1 to Sevilla earlier on Sunday. Second place Sevilla's win reduced the gap to Real Madrid back to 6 points after bitter contract talks ended in stalemate. Dembele played at Camp Nou against Napoli in the Europa League earlier this month, when Xavi brought him on as a substitute to screeching whistles from the angry home supporters. Plateau United outclassed reigning champions Aqua United 3-0 to keep in touch with Nigerian Professional Football League leaders Rivers United at the top of the table. In the game decided at the new Jos Stadium, Zaria Road, host Plateau United made a fast start as winger Nerod Silas gave them the lead after 6 minutes with an unstoppable effort from the edge of the box. Centre-back Ibrahim Buhari then made the game safe after the hour mark before Izuchukwu Chimeze added the icing on the cake in stoppage time. The win takes Fidelis Ilechukwu's men back to within a point of Rivers United, who had earlier stretched their lead to 4 points on Saturday. The SEC Football Association said its national team will not play Russia in a World Cup playoff game, despite FIFA efforts to make Russia acceptable opponents amid the Ukraine invasion. The SEC would have to beat Sweden in Stockholm, and Russia would have to beat Poland in Moscow on March 24th to set up a clash between the two countries 5 days later. The Polish, Swedish, and Czech Federation have issued a statement on Thursday, the day the Russian invasion began, demanding FIFA to play the matches away from Russia. Sweden and Poland said they would not play Russia on Saturday, and Czech Republic followed suit. FIFA letter said that Russia should play home matches at neutral venues and ban its national flag and anthem from matches as Russian troops kept invading Ukraine for the 4th day. Thanks for watching. That's Sport News. I am Adamu Joseph.
And that's all on News Live. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. Nigerian embassy in Romania, Hungary receives over 200 Nigerians from Ukraine. Protestant students lock federal and state secretariat in Plateau State. Plus, Russia destroys world's largest plane Emir in Ukraine. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ambashti Jesse. Please stay tuned for our other programs.